Welcome to the Madison Miller podcast. Tonight's guest is our horse racing analyst. He likes to come on and talk all things horse racing and some other stuff too. It's Jeff Byrnes. How are you doing on this fine Friday night?
I'm doing good, Madison. Thanks for having me on again. It's a good, nice Friday night. Looking forward to the weekend.
Absolutely. And we have the Haskell coming up tomorrow at Monmouth Park. But we have some breaking news regarding next year's Kentucky Derby. And I don't know about this yet. I haven't heard until you said something. So give it to us.
Yes, so there is pretty major breaking news that just dropped just a little while ago. Churchill Downs, effective immediately, has reinstated Bob Baffert.
Oh!
Racetrack.
Wow!
So that is effective immediately. He can now enter his horses at Churchill Downs or any other Churchill Downs owned racetrack. So, barring something truly unforeseen, Bob Baffert will be back at Churchill Downs for the 2025 Kentucky Derby, and I'm very sure he's going to be very, very loaded with horses that are going to be compete to win.
Wow, so that is, it's funny because you said breaking news regarding Kentucky Derby. I had a feeling it could have been that, but you never know. Because you said Kentucky Derby, that made me think of Churchill Downs. So, yeah, that's actually, I think it's a really good thing for the sport because I think he's a good trainer, and it's just unfortunate of what happened a couple years ago, but it was a matter of time, in my opinion, when they were going to lift his ban. So I think that's a good thing for horse racing.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously the whole situation back in 2021 with the Medina Spirit. It was very ugly for everybody involved. I mean, Bob Baffert, the horse, unfortunately failed a post-race test, and Baffert was very defiant and claimed he didn't take he didn't really take a lot of responsibility for his actions, which led obviously to his. It was a 2-year suspension from Churchill Downs, but they added another year to that suspension because he continued to deny that he did anything wrong. But clearly he actually released a statement a little while ago where he did claim he did take responsibility for his actions, and it sounds like him and his lawyers in Churchill Downs eventually negotiated basically a peace offering between the two sides. So Baffert is back, and he will be at Churchill Downs in 2025.
All right, so that is really, really interesting, obviously, and the Haskell is tomorrow. We have 7 horses, we think, because we think Fierceness is going to be scratched, which is, to my opinion, a big, big loss for this race, because Fierceness was obviously one of the favorites. Todd Pletcher horse, so, big loss if that is to be the case. So, we'll kick it off with Dornach. He's in the 1 hole. He's the 5-2 favorite, assuming Fierceness is scratched. So, Dornach, obviously, Danny Gargan's the trainer. Louis Says is going to be the jockey. So let's talk about Dornach.
So Dornach breaking for post 1. This horse actually is your 2024 Belmont Stakes winner at Saratoga. He was a double-digit odds for that race, so he did post a mild upset in there. And in that race, he just slightly coming off the pace. He was around mid-pack, made a move around the far turn, and just held off Mindframe for the victory there. Mindframe also in this Haskell we'll talk about a little bit later on. Dornach is really, he's been training very well. Danny Gargan shipping this horse to Monmouth Park for the Haskell. Breaking from pole position number 1. He typically is a kind of horse that comes off the pace a little bit. Usually you hang around big pack. But from the 1 post, I believe he's going to have to show a lot of speed in order to get good position. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if he even is on the lead going around the turn and up the backstretch. He did go wire to wire in his Fountain of Youth victory back at Gulfstream Park in March, but that was against a short field and not really subpar competition. The competition Saturday is going to be a lot tougher than what he faced on that day. So, wouldn't surprise me if Dornach is on the lead or extremely close to it. He is going to have to get good position from the rail, but being a Belmont Stakes winner, definitely can't count him out. I think he does have a good shot on Saturday.
All right, Jasper's Pride, tied for the longest shot on the board, 30-1. I don't think we saw Jasper's Pride in any of the other races this year. Chuck Spino's the trader. Let's talk about Jasper's Pride.
The Jasper Pride, this is a New Jersey bred, born and raised in the state of New Jersey. This horse is 30-1 on the morning line, and pretty much deservedly so. This will be the first time he's ever going to be at the mile and an eighth distance, which is the Haskell distance. He's primarily was a sprinter his entire career, so he's been stretching out. And typically, another thing that typically can go against him is that he's a closer, and a closer meaning like he'll be around like the back of the pack and try to get a fast pace to run into to close in late. Honestly, looking at this horse, it'll be a pretty big shocker if he wins this race, especially because this is by far the toughest competition he's going to face. Homar Torres, a local rider, aboard him, so I don't think he's going to be much of a pace factor, and it'd be very, very surprising if he wins on Saturday.
I would agree with you about that. Tuscan Sky's your 3-horse, 9-2 odds. That's another Todd Pletcher horse. Was Tuscan Sky in one of the 3 races, or wasn't he? Or maybe he was in one of the undercards.
Tuscan Sky was not in any of the Triple Crown races. He was on the Triple Crown trail, but he ultimately he didn't run well in the Wood Memorial, so obviously he was taken off. He did win the Pegasus Stakes at Monmouth Park, which is the last prep for the Haskell just last month, and he did that race from the one post. He did use it. He is a horse that can show speed, so it wouldn't be surprised if he's challenging horses like Dornoch or possibly even Mindframe. But he should be on the pace setters. Javier Castellano knows this horse pretty well. This horse has routinely been getting better the more races he runs. His last race in the Pegasus, he actually defeated a horse by the name of Domestic Product, who actually was a Kentucky Derby runner, finished in the back of the pack, but he's still a very nice racehorse. So he did defeat a Derby runner in that Pegasus Stakes. The competition does take a big step up from here. He is getting better. Is it going to be enough to win this Haskell race? I'm not quite sure, but I definitely could see him in the top 4.
All right. Timberlake's the 4-horse, probably my favorite name in the of the horses in the field, unless if Fierceness is still, because I love Fierceness, but Timberlake I love the name. 8-1 odds. Brad Cox is the trainer. The jockey for this horse is Flavian Pratt. Tell us about Timberlake.
So Timberlake, this horse is coming into the Haskell off of a pretty big layoff. He actually hasn't run since April when he was 4th in the Grade 1 Arkansas Derby at Oaklawn Park. Now, he has been a very good racehorse throughout his career. He was a Grade 1 winner. He won the Grade 1 Champagne at Aqueduct in October of last year. And then this year, back in March, he did win the Grade 2 Rebel Stakes at Oaklawn Park. So he actually did have enough points to get into the Kentucky Derby and actually could have run in the race, but that poor finish in the Arkansas Derby, the 4th, and the Connections ultimately decided to pull back and give him a break after that race. So this is going to be his first race after that Arkansas Derby in the Haskell. So pretty big step up in competition and a pretty interesting way to come back, if you ask me. I'm a little surprised they opted for this spot over an easier race, maybe just to get more confidence back in him. But clearly, Brad Cox thinks he's doing well enough to run him in this spot. Flavian Pratt is one of the best jockeys, I think, not only in the United States but in the world. I think he is a great jockey to be aboard him. Should get him in a good position. I think he'll be around mid-pack. Could be challenging among the leaders going into the far turn. But I do worry about the layoff for him. 8-1 in the morning line is a generous price. I could see him going off around there. He's going to have to overcome maybe some traffic trouble if he does hang around mid-pack. But Timberlake, he's a nice horse. Maybe a little tough competition coming back. Maybe he could be a horse to keep an eye on down the road, possibly later on this year. But this certainly is going to be a tough spot for him.
All right. We'll do a little bit on Fierceness, even though you think that he's likely to be scratched. I know Fierceness he was in the Derby, right?
Correct. Fierceness actually went off the favorite in the Kentucky Derby.
Yes.
He finished well back in the pack. So the story with Fierceness is just like with Mindframe, the 7-horse, we'll get to in a little bit. He is owned and trained. He is owned by Mike Rapoli, and he is trained by Todd Pletcher. And the thing is, Mike Rapoli, as the owner, obviously you can spot your horse wherever you want. I mean, that's his right and everything. But he did send Mindframe to Monmouth Park earlier today, and on that van ride, Fierceness didn't go, so it sounds like he is gonna scratch. There is a van that is lined up for him actually at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning that could take him to Monmouth Park if something, if for some reason Mindframe were to scratch out of that race. then Fierceness will go. So unless unless Mindframe scratches from the race tomorrow for whatever reason, Fierceness most likely is to scratch. It sounds like they're going to actually run next week definitively in the Grade 2 Jim Dandy Stakes at Saratoga. That is the local prep up there for the Grade 1 Travers in late August, which is pretty much the big three-wheel race of the year minus the Kentucky Derby. So, Fierceness, he definitely would have gone the favorite and most likely would have been the top speed horse in this race. So, right now it's 50-50, but right now I'd say that he's most likely going to not run on this race on Saturday, tomorrow.
All right, but like I said earlier, I think that would be a big loss for this race if Fierceness doesn't race. Just Step On It's the 6. He's also 30-1, along with Jasper's Pride. One of the longer shots, obviously. The trainer is Louis Linder. Tell us about Just Step On It.
So Just Step On It, he is coming off of a win last time out at Parks Racing in Pennsylvania. He is 3 for 9 lifetime, a New York bred, son of Accelerate. So this horse, I think, despite being 30-1 in the morning line, I don't know if I really particularly like his chance a lot, but I think he could be a big factor when it comes to the pace. He did win his last race, like I said, but he won the race going wire to wire. He has shown plenty of speed in the past. Monmouth Park typically has been a speed-favoring track for many, many years now. And you get a top jockey in Florent Giroux aboard him, and I think Giroux is going to be aggressive aboard him. Try to get to the leaders and try to be among the pace setters up front. So, while I don't think he has like a definitive chance of winning this race, I think with Giroux aboard, he definitely could be among the pace setters, and it could affect horses like Dornoch or Tuscan Sky, and it could set up for maybe a horse like Mindframe or even Timberlake if the pace is fast enough. So I don't believe he could win this race. I think Just Step On It could be a factor overall in who could win it at the end.
All right, Mindframe is next. A 9-5 morning line favorite. This is the third Todd Pletcher horse in the race. Let's talk about Mindframe.
So Mindframe, this will be his 4th career start coming up in the Haskell Stakes. And he ran in the Belmont Stakes last time out, and he was second behind Dornoch, only beating about 3/4 of a length up at Saratoga. His race in the Belmont, I remember coming on your show about a month ago discussing the Belmont, and I wasn't particularly the biggest fan of Mindframe because I thought the waters would be too deep for him too soon. But from the 10 post in that race, he ran giant. He ran an incredible race that day, and I know although he couldn't get past Dornoch, he was bopping and weaving through the stretch. He ran a huge race considering he was up and on the pace, and the pace was pretty good. But Irad Ortiz Jr. kept it off the outside, and he wandered a little bit in the stretch. And I think that did cost him a little bit. I don't know if he was never going to go by Dornoch, but he ran a really big race that day. He's come out of it really well, and he's posted some really fast workouts up at Saratoga. So I think there's a possibility that this could be his coming out party, meaning that if he wins this race, he could be among the best 3-year-olds in the country. I think he proved a lot of people wrong when he ran a big race in the Belmont Stakes. Now he shortens back up to 9 furlongs, but I think could be right up his alley. From the outside 7 post, I could definitely see him sitting second or third and making a run around the far turn. The question's going to be though, if the pace is too fast for him, is he going to hang around at the end? But ultimately, I think Mindframe has a huge shot here.
All right, and the last horse is Sea Streak, a New Jersey horse, 20-1 though. So probably the third. Yeah, that would be the third longest shot on the board. Eddie Owens is the trainer. Tell us about Sea Streak.
So Sea Streak, yes, he's a New Jersey bred, and he's been a pretty nice horse in his career. Just over $200,000 in earnings for his career. He did win the first local prep for the Haskell. He won the Long Branch Stakes opening weekend in Monmouth Park back on May 11th. And so he has shown that he can win over this racetrack before. He did win that race pretty nicely at the end. He has tried open company plenty of times though in the past. He was third in the Mucho Macho Man Stakes at Gulfstream Park back on New Year's Day. But he did finish last behind some pretty nice horses in the Holy Bowl, including Fierceness. So he has been shown at times to be pretty good, and he also has shown at times to be really bad. But this is a really big step up in competition for him. I think he is good enough to where he could be among the top 4, but he is going to have to get away cleanly from the outside gate and try not to work out a wide trip. But ultimately, I think it'll be very surprising for him if he wins this race on Saturday. He could, I think he could possibly get into the top 4 if the pace is right for him. But it's going to be a tall task on Saturday.
All right. Favorite part when I have you on, win, place, show. All right, so let's assume Fierceness does not race. Who would be your winner pick right now?
So my pick, I'm going to go with Mindframe. I think he can turn the tables on a horse like Dornoch. I think the cutback in distance is going to help him. I think the shorter field is going to help him as well. And I know there's some good horses in here, including Dornoch, but I think the competition isn't exactly as tough as it was in the Belmont. Like I said, he ran a huge race that day, and I just think this is a really good horse that is coming into his form at the right time. Irad Ortiz Jr. coming down to ride him, I think, is a big endorsement for him. So I'll take Mindframe to win the Haskell.
I really am torn between 3 horses. I really was thinking about this on my drive home today, who I was going to pick between these 3. Or Fierceness would have been up there too, but now he's out, so it's down to 3. All right, I'm going to be different. I'm going to do something that I don't think I've seen you do, which is pick the 1 horse, and that's Dornoch. I'm going to go with Dornoch to do it again.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Dornoch, I think he's going to have to use his speed from the inside, but I definitely think he's coming to his own. He's a good horse, so he definitely has a good shot to win on Saturday.
All right, I'm actually going to go with Mindframe for the place pick. I like Ortiz coming up. Todd Pletcher horse. Ran a good Belmont, so I'm going to go with Mindframe second. How about you?
Well, we're going to go in reverse here, too. I'm going to go Dornoch to finish second. I think the 1 post, I think the connections probably would have preferred to be a little bit outside, but you get what you get with the post position draw. But I think he's good enough to where you can overcome that post, and competition is actually the toughest, but he's going to use his speed, and I think that could help him on Saturday, so I'll take Dornoch to finish second.
All right, what about your show pick?
My show pick, I'll go with the 3, Tuscan Sky. So I think he's getting better with each and every start. His race last time in the Pegasus Stakes was really, really good, in which obviously he defeated the Kentucky Derby runner that day. But he's getting better with every start. This is a big step up in competition for him, but I think he can handle it.
All right. I'm also going to go with Tuscan Sky. So this is a kind of a boring one for us because we usually differ on a couple. But
right.
I'm going to go with Tuscan Sky, but I'll admit right now I probably would have picked Fierceness to win had Fierceness raced.
Yeah, if Fierceness were to run, I would probably still pick Mindframe to win, but Fierceness I would probably have put Fierceness second over Dornoch in third. So if Fierceness ran, I probably would have gone Mindframe, Fierceness, and then Dornoch. I
would have gone Fierceness, Dornoch, Mindframe. That would have been my top 3. Any interesting undercard horses you're looking at for tomorrow?
Yes. So in the Grade 3 Molly Pitcher Stakes at Monmouth Park, the last year's Breeders' Cup Distaff winner, Idiomatic, is going to make an appearance in that race for trainer Brad Cox. And her big competition there is a horse by the name of Soul the Angel for trainer Sappy Joseph Jr. She's a greatest 6 winner up in New York earlier this year, but Idiomatic coming in, I think, should roll over that field that she's facing tomorrow. And not every day that a former Breeders' Cup champion makes an appearance at Monmouth Park, so pretty cool for that to happen. And so very, very interested to see her on tomorrow. Also, I like in the Monmouth Cup, the Grade 3 Monmouth Cup, Brad Cox also has another horse by the name of Highland Falls, who for the powerful Godolphin stables, he's been coming into his own his last couple of races. He just won the Grade 3 Blame Stakes at Churchill Downs. Looking to add another Grade 6 win to his resume, and hopefully to continue to build as he tries to get to the Breeders' Cup. So some nice horses at Monmouth Park tomorrow on the Haskell Undercard.
Yeah, Tapit Trace is in that same race that you were just talking about in the Grade 3 one with Highland Falls. That's funny. Tapit Trace is in there. I remember Tapit Trace.
Yeah, Tappan Trice was a Triple Crown runner last year. He ran in the Kentucky Derby, and he also ran in the Belmont Stakes. He hasn't run in a while, so the connections putting him in the Monmouth Cup. Pretty ambitious return date for him. So I'm looking forward to seeing him get back on track again too.
Yeah, that's a good one. So yeah, undercard's gonna be fun. I wish I was able to go tomorrow, but yours truly has other things to do, so I will not be at the Haskell. I wish I went. Oh well. All right, couple things before we go. Yankees start back tonight. So do the Mets. So did you hear? John Morosi reported that the Rays might be sellers.
I did. It's obviously the Yankees do need quite a bit of positions.
Yeah.
And if the Rays ultimately would be sellers, I think because they're in the division with the Yankees, I think could be a little bit of a price tag depending on who the Yankees could be targeting.
Right.
Obviously, I would love to have a guy like Isak Paredes because I think he would bring a lot of power to that lineup. A guy that I would be intrigued at would be Ahmed Rosario because he's having a pretty good season. He's batting up 290. His OPS could be a little bit higher. I know he could have a little more home run power, but he's a very good hitter. You could play him at second base. You could play him at third base. So I mean, if I'm the Yankees, I would definitely look at a guy like him. Plus, he wouldn't cost a lot too. I don't think he's not really making a lot of money this season for the Rays. So I would definitely.
Rosario does scream Yankees.
Yeah,
you're right. It's not bad. It's not a bad pickup. You're not wrong. You're not a bad pickup. That would be a guy they would get. I like Yandy Diaz for the Yankees. You could play him at third base. You could DH him a little bit if you want Stanton to have the day off. I mean, I'm intrigued by Yandy Diaz on the Rays.
Yeah, that's a good too. Those are all good options for the Yankees. Just it's going to depend ultimately what the Rays want from them. But Yandy Diaz, I know he's having a little bit of a down year in batting average wise, but he's a very good hitter. And the Yankees, I know minus Judge and Soto, the Yankees lineup really isn't doing a whole lot. So they need as many bats, I think, as they possibly can, because if they're going to go compete in the playoffs and contend for a World Series, they need more people besides Judge and Soto to step up.
Yes, but the case for the Yankees, I mean, with the additions, I mean, if Volpe turns back into the guy he was in the first half of the season, I think that would be potentially bigger than any potential trade.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Volpe has had, quite frankly, a really bad month and a half, 2 months. I mean, the Volpe we saw from April to mid-May was really, really good, and someone we all got really excited for. It's like, all right, this is the guy that we were expecting. This is the guy we really hoped for. But, I mean, his batting average has dipped to, I believe it's like 245 now. His OPS is below 700. He has to get better. He needs to be better. I mean, his fielding is still really good despite that atrocious error he committed on Sunday against the Orioles. But yeah, I mean, it's still really. I mean, his fielding has been overall good this year, but yeah, he has to be better in the batter's box if the Yankees are going to really go anywhere. Like Anthony Volpe is definitely one of those guys too that needs to pick it up.
Yeah, so the guys that stand out to me for the reason why the team's had this bad slump over the last month and a half are Volpe, Rodon, and Heel, although Heel was good against the Orioles. So I think those three are the three guys to me that stand out in terms of those guys all got off to great starts, and then the team started playing poorly when those three players started playing poorly.
Yeah, I'd agree most part. I would probably throw in like DJ LeMahieu too, because I mean,
but he was hurt.
I don't know why they keep playing him every single day. I mean, he's still batting below 200, I believe, and I know he was hurt earlier this year, but ultimately, when he's gotten plenty of at bats now, so I think it's the point where we know what he is.
Yeah,
and right now he's just not hitting well, and his fielding is still okay, but that's not going to produce runs for you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's also true. And then the other guy that stands out in terms of the good start was Oswaldo Cabrera. Remember, he was off to that great start. And then, but then again, that's why your LeMahieu point's a good one, because Cabrera was playing, and they were playing great with him. But yeah, that's why third base to me is the spot to upgrade. I mean, I really like Ben Rice. I think he's done a really good job.
I do too.
I feel bad for Rizzo because I liked Rizzo so much, and then to me, he's never been the same since that collision with Tatis.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, he's never been the same since the collision with Tatis, and I mean, it seemed like I believe he actually got off to a pretty good start in April, but then he just really, really dipped from like May on, and now he's hurt again. I mean, personally, I think Rizzo is declining as a baseball player.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like everything from the hitting to the fielding is just going in the opposite direction. I know the Yankees have a club option for him next year, and honestly, I'll be shocked. And quite frankly, I know he is a good guy and everything, but I'll be really disappointed if they pick up that club option. not gonna lie, but
I don't think they're gonna pick it up.
Yeah, I think this is his last year with the Yankees, but no, I do like Ben Rice too. He has shown power and he has shown good plate discipline, and that's something that really the Yankees have been missing from a lot of these other players. But he had that huge home run on Sunday, and when we thought that was going to win that game, but he's been playing well, Ben Rice, and I think if he continues to produce at this, I think that's one less problem for them to solve at the trade deadline, first baseman. So, but whether they were going to target that or not, but Ben Rice has shown a lot of potential, and I think he's going to stay for a bit.
Yeah, and then the other reason, I mean, I hate using injuries as excuses with the Yankees, but, I mean, I'm watching the news right now, and they're showing Giancarlo Stanton. If he didn't get hurt, I don't think the slide would have happened.
Yeah, honestly, you can definitely point to his injury as where the slide began.
Yep.
I mean, because it was right around that period of time where, the Yankees were playing baseball, but they really, really started to slump after that Stanton went down. And personally for me, I think the slide really started when Clay Holmes blew that save against the Royals back in last month. Because if you really think about it, from that moment on, I think they're like 8-19 ever since that game.
Yeah.
So,
and
yeah.
I think Stanton was already hurt by then, right?
I don't actually know. He wasn't hurt by then. I think he actually got hurt just a few games later, because that was against the Braves where he got hurt. I think because they played the Red Sox after that Royal Series and then the Braves afterwards. So
right. Yeah, I don't remember the order of the series. I remember that Royal Series, and they were about to sweep the Royals, and then Holmes blew the save, and the Yanks lost that game. Yeah, and then one other thing I want to bring up, regarding to the teams we root for. I saw 2 mock drafts recently for 2025, and both of them had the Giants picking first overall. I feel like whenever people pick the Giants, or anybody, the last couple of years, whenever somebody's picked to be the worst team in the league, it never happens. Like Arizona last year is picked to be the worst team in the league, doesn't happen. But yeah, I would be somewhat surprised if the Giants are picking first overall next year, because the Carolina Panthers are awful, and I think they're worse than the Giants. But what do you make of that? 2 mock drafts I saw recently, and the Giants are picking first in both of them.
Well, a couple things. First, if the Giants are picking first overall next year, then everybody's getting fired.
Yeah.
Joe Shane and Brian Dable are gone, so that's the first thing. Second thing is that Giants are getting just zero love from anybody in the media or in the NFL landscapes. And I think the big reason why is because it's the quarter. I just think it's Daniel Jones.
Yep.
It's the quarterback. And he's coming off of a really down year last year. He's coming off of another serious injury. And Daniel Jones is in another massive prove-it year, because this is the second year of that 4-year deal, in which after this season, there's no more guaranteed money. So basically, it wouldn't surprise me if, let's say, towards the end of the season, where if things aren't going well, the Giants could ultimately bench him to not guarantee a lot of injury money for next season, like what the Broncos did to Russell Wilson this year.
Yep, I was just thinking that's a good comparison.
So that wouldn't surprise me if that happens, but ultimately it's the quarterback. Daniel Jones does not have a lot of love in the NFL media or around the league. And, well, I do think the Giants did make some nice upgrades on the offensive line, and drafting Malik Neighbors I think certainly is going to help. But if Daniel Jones doesn't produce, then it's going to be another down year for the Giants. So they just got to hope that he recovers from this ACL injury well, and hopefully things get better.
Right, and it's weird. You said that if they're picking first overall, they're fired, unless if they're slated to pick 7th and they trade up and they're not fired.
Well, that's a possibility too. But if they go 3-14 or 2-15, everybody's gone. And if you earn the first overall pick, everybody's gone. So yeah, obviously, there's a possibility that they're picking 7th, like you said, and they could trade up to number 1. That's absolutely a possibility. But yeah, that's meant by everybody's fired and gone. It's if they go 2-15 and everything. But
yeah, I don't think they're going to be that bad.
Oh yeah, I told it this a couple months. I think this Giants defense isn't that bad.
The defense isn't bad.
Yeah, just you have Dexter Lawrence there, who's probably now the best defensive tackle in the game after Aaron Donald retired.
Right.
You got Kayvon Thibodeau, it seems like he's getting better as the years go on. You just traded for Brian Byrnes, who was a premier pass rusher. I mean, you got Fabio Carrique, who's a really good linebacker. Deontay Banks had a promising rookie season, so they have a lot of good players on the defensive side of the ball. So, if anything, I think this Giants team could possibly go through his defense, and so I just don't see them being terrible to the point where they earn the number 1 overall pick. I just don't see it unless things just completely spiral out of control early on. But ultimately, the Giants don't get any love from the media because of the quarterback, and unless they want to, then that's on Daniel Jones to turn it around and prove everybody wrong.
Right. So, I mean, I haven't done my NFL predictions yet. I mean, it's still very early, and I need to see how the training camps go and injuries and whatnot. And on the flip side with the Jets, I feel like people are penciling them in to go to the AFC Championship game and to win the AFC East. Meanwhile, Josh Allen's still there, and I don't think the Dolphins are going to be as good. I mean, I could be wrong about Miami, but I think people are overrating the Jets a little bit yet again. And I get it. Aaron Rodgers.
I get it. Yeah, it's Aaron Rodgers. I mean, we're talking about one of the best quarterbacks to ever play a game of football. But, I totally understand where you're coming from because, Aaron Rodgers is going to be 41 in December. He's coming off of a really bad Achilles injury. So, those combination of those two right there isn't that great. So, they did upgrade the offensive line, even though there is still a lot of questions about the offensive line. You're getting Tyron Smith at the left tackle. You trade for Morgan Moses to be Elijah Vera Tucker's coming back. So the offensive line for the Jets, on paper, isn't as bad as it was last year. It should be a lot better. And plus you got Garrett Wilson. Mike Williams is now there, too. They just drafted what's that one wide receiver that everybody's comparing to Deebo Samuel, McCallum Corley, I believe his name was.
Yes.
But so on paper, the Jets' offense shouldn't really be that bad. It's going to come down to Aaron Rodgers and how he comes back from the injury. But ultimately, the problem with the Jets to me is it's the head coach. I'm not a big fan of Rob Saleh, and it's his decision that they could ultimately cost the Jets at the end. I think the Jets, if Rodgers is healthy throughout the season, are going to be really, really good. But to say they're going to go to the AFC Championship at this moment, I think is a little bit of an overreaction for a lot of people's parts.
Yes, that's my issue. People are picking them to go to the AFC Championship game. I wouldn't be surprised if people are picking them to go to the Super Bowl, especially people here in New York. But Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow's coming back, and you have Lamar Jackson. You still have Josh Allen in your own division. You still have Miami, who may or may not be a tough out depending on Tua's situation. I think there's a possibility that the Chargers can surprise some people. The AFC is loaded. And Houston's going to be really good.
Yeah, Houston is coming off of a great season last year. C.J. Stroud has proven to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL already. As you say, Joe Burrow coming back. If he can stay healthy, then the Bengals are going to be really good again. So, I know the Bills and Dolphins both lost a lot of players this offseason, but their quarterbacks are still really good. Josh Allen is still the quarterback of Buffalo. As long as he's healthy and playing, they got a shot every single week to win. Tua, I know, is hot and cold, but he's coming off of a really good season last year, and he's going into a contract year, so he's going to be a lot more motivated than ever to get that big contract. So, the AFC is just loaded top to bottom. And it's going to be a tough road for the Jets. I think they're good enough to get to the playoffs as long as everybody stays healthy. But just to automatically say, oh, they're going to the AFC Championship and everything is, I think it's just unrealistic to this point. A lot of things just have to go their way for it to happen.
Yes, I would have to agree. All right, Jeff, it was nice to have you on. And when's the next big horse race that I got to have you on for?
Well, we got a great one, Travers, in late August at Saratoga. You'll probably see the winner of the Haskell and the Jim Dandy next week at Saratoga, where you'll see Mindframe. Fierceness, my apologies. You'll see Fierceness and the Jim Dandy next week. As long as everything goes well there, they should show up in the Travers. Yep. That's late August. That was the last week in August. Date's not ringing a bell for some reason. I don't know why, but the Travers is there. Great one up at Saratoga. That's coming up next week. You also got the Breeders' Cup is not that far away. It's in early November, so comes up pretty quickly after that.
I know, that's crazy. All right, hopefully we get you on in late August to talk about the race at Saratoga, and I hope you enjoy the Haskell.
All right, thank you, Madison. Always great to come on with you.
Always awesome. Thank you.